Good morning and welcome to MDI. It's indeed a pleasure, honor, and great privilege of mine to welcome you all on behalf of MDI, even on this cold but thankfully very sunny morning to our campus at Gurgaon. In some ways, I think MDI has a special hold on the IMC because of Amit Agnihotri, who is our alum and who's going to stay our alum regardless of whoever hosts the IMC anytime in future. Right? So I'm really thankful to Amit for bringing the conference home. And I was going through those slides that Amit was just mentioning. And it seems to me that even after spending over 2 decades now in management education, and much of it in India, I think all those questions remain baffling and challenging to me. And I'm probably as much at a loss today than probably I would have been 20 years ago if I had pondered about those questions 20 years ago at all, about all of those issues. So management education is a very interesting business. Now, we are very successful, and that nobody can deny. Why we are so successful is less easy to answer. And whether we are going to continue to be successful going forward is also not that clear. Probably we will, and I'm sure we are all changing to adapt to a changing environment. It's almost the Darwinian thing that we need to keep in mind. Right? The species that survives is not the strongest or the fastest, but the one that adapts best to its environment. And our environment is changing very fast. The biggest drivers, obviously, are technology, and pandemic has just strengthened or accelerated that change that technology is bringing worldwide, and it has brought into India. We really, at the outset of the pandemic, we never thought that at least in India, things could happen, education could happen in a manner that we have witnessed it in the last 18 months or so. We have always had video conferencing facilities, but we still traveled not just for education, but even for meetings. We traveled across the country to meet people for an hour or two and spend the entire day in the process. What the pandemic has taught us, or underlined the fact that we all sort of knew, but never really pushed ourselves to talk about what can be achieved across computer screens and what cannot be achieved as well. We are learning the powers and the limitations of online education. And online education not just in B schools, but through and through. The other big challenge, so the technology part, how to teach, is going through a massive change, as we all know, or the massive environmental change, and our challenge to adapt to that environment. Sometimes in India, often there are skeptics of our newfound, I would say, or recently found, not very new, but not more than a decade and a half old, thrust on business research. Should we push faculty to do research? Does it really add value? Is there really a connect between those articles that are published in top journals or middle journals and what happens in the classroom? Is the researcher and the teacher really the same person? How do we balance those? Is it true that when we go by incentivizing research so much, it really takes away from faculty to invest resources in improving oneself as a teacher? Is there a trade-off there, or are there positive externalities of doing research, staying inquisitive, staying abreast of new changes so that you can talk about it effortlessly in the classroom? I think there's truth to both sides, but it's a debate that or a discussion that we all need to engage in. The biggest challenge that I personally have sort of seen is this future of work thing. We talk about AI. How much of it is reality? I mean, a lot of it is obviously reality. But how much of it is a reality that is going to impact the median learner today, say in the next half a decade or so? And how much of it would be in the hands of a select few, but the select few that is going to dominate the business space, but not really employ in that great numbers precisely because of the AI advantage. So this whole question, I think today, if a few years ago, business education could have clearly said that we are the most sought after stream because of the way we have packaged our education and because of the success it is believed to bring to our learners. Today we are actually in some ways losing ground, if I may use that phrase, to data science. Right? There is actually preference among people not to pick up business degrees, but to go and do data science as a discipline, as a separate discipline. Now, data science is not separate from management, of course. In fact, management cannot go much further without using data science. So they are integrated. But how should our curriculum design answer these questions? What kind of students can really answer this question, can really pick up the technical skills needed? We talk about machine learning and deep learning, I think, several times every single day. Only a fraction of us really have a clue about what we are talking about. And the amount of froth that AI has generated in business school classrooms as well as in possibly in boardrooms is really impressive. What does it really mean for the learner of today? And are those buzzwords enough? Or do they need to roll up their sleeves and get to cracking the codes? That's one thing. And the second part of it, which is less technical, is how to imagine a future that you are completely unprepared for. See, we go into this classroom and teach case studies. All those case studies are situated at least 5 years before. I mean, the more agile and the more forward-thinking people have got case studies which are probably a story that is completed a year ago, but still a year ago. One thing that I think we have clarity on is tomorrow is not going to look like yesterday. What tomorrow is going to look like, I have no idea. But the fact that it's not going to look like yesterday is probably obvious to all of us. Now, as an educator, our challenge then becomes how to prepare executives for tomorrow on the basis of the material that we have from yesterday. Is there really a watershed change, or is it going to be more of the same gradual evolution? So that's an important question. And the topic that Amit just mentioned a little while ago, who's our learner? How do we define merit? And how do we promote? We talk about startups and the startup and the unicorns all the time. What is the role that we have to play there? I'm very happy that IMC has congregated here over today and tomorrow to discuss all of these issues. We, as you just saw, are at an important juncture in our own history. We have just completed 50 years, so this is part of our 50 years celebration as well as relearning and preparing for the next 50 years and longer. So welcome and thank you.